Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.
Hello, this is Werewolf the Podcast. This is episode 174. Last week was a chat with the crew. It's now given us time to get back to the story, which is a bit of a relief, I'm sure. What's going on? Well, okay, so we're going to be rebranding a little bit, maybe. Going to give that a go, see what you think of that. There's loads of stuff in the description down there. If you go to the description, you can do stuff, read stuff and all that kind of stuff. You can go to the Facebook if you're still a Facebookie and join the group and do that, and there's X and Instagram and just go and do stuff. And if you could follow and star and share, that would be great. Other than that, this week's episode is sort of trimester. Is that a trimester? Is that pregnancy? Is three preludes to the next steps. So, as always, at this point, I tell you, I love you. Bye!
The Professor. I leave Kensington House and the Priory a semi-sober man. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that I've detoxified my body and my mind. I've pushed aside my nonsensical need to reach for the crutch of narcotics and walk from this place to resume a life. But the malt is way too good to never have again. I'm a great believer in wallowing. Most psychologists and psychiatrists would have you work to dig your way out of, how would Dr. Wood put it, your fecal heap as soon as possible. Although I've learned over the centuries that rolling around in that shit pile for a while is quite important. You have to feel and explore all the emotions presented. I've done so. It was a lot of exploring. It was a whole lot of shit. Do I have a conclusion? I take myself to be a man of great intelligence. I am a brighter person than most of the people I meet and consider. Or at least I thought so. I do have a conclusion, but unlike a few days ago, Dr. Wood has shown me that it's an acceptable conclusion. My pride had been used against me, you see. Dr. Wood had shown me that I didn't need to think I was better than others because I was not like others. I didn't need that crutch of pride. He'd brought it down to simple scientific technique. Myself and the humans that surrounded me were not comparable. We were simply different. I could go into how we were different. I could give you paragraphs explaining why we were different, but I realized that this would be me self-aggrandizing again. That I would give you reasons why I was better than others. That's not the point. Dr. Wood had helped me realize that I'm not better. I'm just different. I don't need to feel better or be better than anybody else. From my recent past, it had been shown that I could very easily be used because of my pridefulness. Holding myself of more worth than others meant that I had committed a great sin. Pride in putting myself before all others. A test again from the Lord on high, and a beast below. Well, okay, some would say being used by God and the devil is highly untypical, but I'd become used to it. They'd played with my cockiness, my self-assurance, my own aggrandizement, and they'd shown me my true worth. That had been hard to live with when the realization had hit me. The biggest monster I had to fight and kill was not a vampire blood queen. It wasn't Will or God. It wasn't the devil. It had been my own ego, my pride. An ego that I now know I simply did not need. Lucifer had used me as a puppet. She had steered me in directions that I thought I would never take. And all this time, God hadn't even raised a bloody finger. He just ignored what was happening and let Lucy get on and do whatever the hell she wanted, as usual. Oh, my greatest gift to humankind is the gift of free will, so you just do what you want and get pushed around in whatever direction you get pushed in. Bloody lazy, if you ask me. I had to deal with a lot. I really did. A very large shit. It was a fecal heap indeed, but now I was through rolling in it. You know, in life they say you have to feel it to heal it. Well, I'd felt it and I'd bloody well smelt it too. And now I was ready to shake that shit off and get cracking once again. And so, I emerge from the Priory. I am suited and I am booted. A new wardrobe of clothes has been made for me. This suit is made from a Loro Piana wool blend of perfection from Anderson and Shepherd the tailors. The style is English drape, and it suits me as a man like no other suit can suit me, obviously. I walk towards the car that the government has graciously laid on for me. I'm off to stay for a while with a great friend of mine while I finalize my reconstruction. He is a man who can help me make sense of all of this. A man who can help me with that sin of mine, my foolish pride. A man who will not judge me, nor will he chastise me. An expert in European law, with a specialism conveniently enough in lycanthropy. A man who doesn't quite pronounce his R's as W's, but very nearly does. A man named Ernest Wainwright, the last true English gentleman.
Soula Abda. I am a member of the specialist unit at the Met. It's so specialist that it has no designation, or maybe because we are such a small unit, it is not worth a designation. The former sounds more like it to me. We just are. We've been labelled as the Spooks, which was quite clever of whoever did the labelling. They were properly clever, weren't they? I suppose it's clever in their eyes, us being the Spooks, because we are spies and because we deal with spooky things. See what they did there? Spooks, spies, and spooky things. My partner Ben Johnson and I are supposed to look after the supernatural criminals of London. Yes, just the two of us. The whole of London. Not a small place and not with a lack of weird shit that goes on there. One of the biggest things we have to do is work out the magic and bollocks from the weird shit that normal people do. And yes, normal people do a lot of weird shit, which could be mixed up with the magic and bollocks we have to deal with. As I have said, I have a partner, Ben. I say partner, you know what I mean by partner in this case though. Professional partners. Although if Ben does not ask me out at least once a week, I would be worried for him. Some would say that it is a form of sexual harassment, but I don't think Ben is capable of doing that. Going to HR for something as normal as being hit on, just a bit of gentle harassment, would feel very odd in comparison with all that goes on around me, just in the general day-to-day. For example, I've been hit on by a mountain troll before now. When I say hit on, I mean hit, like struck. Their main technique in flirting is using a blunt object to apply concussive blows to the head of the thing that they are trying to seduce. Take that to HR. You might question my going to HR about a troll. The troll was a monster that we fought. Well, no. He was Colin, the cave troll. He was part of the team for a while. At least Ben just stumbles over his words. He does not try to hit me with half a tree over the head to tell me he wants to get in my pants. Although maybe he would if he thought it was an acceptable mode of doing so. I might call his bluff one day, Ben, not Colin, and say yes to him. I don't think he would know what to do if I said yes. I don't mean that in a bad way either. It would be too much for him to deal with, I think. I also don't mean that in an arrogant way. I have complicated and diverse tastes. Nothing kinky, it's not too kinky anyway. I just have diverse and different tastes from him. Ben does not do complicated things. He does football, fried chicken, and grime. He is a walking stereotype. He's even convinced grime is music. I'm not even sure of whatever it is, but he gets hurt when I take the piss. We've been reassured that others are doing this job alongside us, that there are other teams like us around Britain and the world, but knowing who these teams are is on a need-to-know basis only. At Ben and I's paid grade, we don't need to know them. We know the professor is head of all this criminal supernatural stuff, but we don't know the other teams and who he works with by name. So why am I telling you all this? Well, Will and the Spooks have a history. You can go back and listen to the past episodes if you need to catch up. Start somewhere like 112. So we, I mean Ben and myself, are following the renowned werewolf, mass murderer, torturer, and all-round rude boy, Will, wherever he goes. Ben says that Will is a rude boy. Apparently it's slang for something. Maybe you understand. I think he's a horrific being. So following the wolf means I am sitting in a windy car park in the north of fecking Scotland, trying to warm my hands up on Ben's heater of a horrid colour, shift-wrapped bad boy kitted out Toyota Supra. This thing blends into the scenery like a dog shit on a 5-star restaurant's table, although it might be mistaken as part of the meal at some trendy places.
This dish is a blend of steak and potatoes processed through the gut of a Canis lupus familiaris. I recommend that you eat it while it is still warm for the best of flavour results.
Why did I even think of that? If you have not heard any parts of Will's story before, you can gather his wanted status as an IC1 target. IC1 is police slang for white males. IC1 is an excellent code for Will. He is an IC1. Yeah, a clever Ben J joke there. An IC1. Ben explained what he meant to me when he thought that I had not got his incredibly smart and witty jokes. Explains a bit more about Ben. Bless him.
Icy one, you know. He's like as cold as ice, innit?
He explained. He's right, and this is not a joke. Will is a cold-hearted, psychotic monster. Will is not an IC1. I suppose Will is an IC9. For those not in the know, that means he's of an unknown race. I suppose race is not the contested part of the code with his, disability? No, it's the opposite, I suppose, his ability. Anyway, he needs a code of his own. He is an IC1W, a white male werewolf. I might suggest this coding to the professor when I get back. Well, I suppose when he gets back. If he gets back. I'm not sure he will be back. My informants have told me where he is and what he is up to. Mainly drink, drugs, and disappointing drivel. Oh, that sounds bad that he is using drugs. But they are not the illegal type of drugs that he would be in trouble for. Using fairy dust does not sound illegal or bad, does it? It's not on any narcotics lists in this reality. It should be, though. Those fairy fuckers make dust that can blow a human's mind. Anyway, sorry, tangent there. You can tell Will's inherent value by what we have as a support network behind us. The number of people and agencies available to this little on-watch mission is ridiculous. We can not only count the number of agencies involved, we can also count the number of countries. Then there is the technology right at our fingertips. We can survey our threat with satellites, drones, trackers, CCTV where available, and use all the incredible software algorithms that let the computer trail him without humans being involved and ruining it. One of my particular favourite things is that we have the special forces of 3 countries available. It's cute that they think that they could do anything if the shit hits the fan. The Norwegian Special Forces are sitting in a van not 10 minutes away. They are tough, confident men who can deal with a myriad of difficult situations. I'm afraid that Will is not one of those difficult situations. Will eats super army soldiers for breakfast. He was one. That kind of not so small detail makes life so much more difficult for anyone trying to deal with him. God bless our MOD for taking a psychotic, murderous werewolf and training him to be good at counterintelligence and, killing. Anyway, back to the job. If you have yet to go to the very north of Scotland, then you have no idea how few people there are here. In London, Ben and I fit in, due to its ethnic diversity and its population of millions. In Caithness, not so much. I'm a Shaila hijab-wearing Somalian girl. Ben is a big black boy of Caribbean descent. Do you see the issue? There are not many people in general here, and the diversity is next to nil. Ben jokes in a slightly racist way that the people with our colour of skin would not want to come this far north as it's too damn cold, wet and windy. In fact, I really wonder why they used us. Ben with his proper multicultural London English accent sticks out anywhere outside his little borough. And of course, that stupid Supra, it cannot be unseen once seen. I'm embarrassed knowing someone who owns one. Now I'm sat in the bloody thing. Ben of course, is driving me crazy. A boy from London here in the bloody country.
There ain't nothing to do, innit?
Is a common sentence that escapes his lips. Maybe he is right, but he is a city boy, and this is as far from the city as he will ever want to be. I don't think being in the UK and any further from his beloved home is actually possible. He has found it hard to adapt to life here. We've been here 3 days, and he feels like we've been here for years. I have to admit that it was a shock for me. Turns out you get used to a 24-hour lifestyle. Up here, after 8, you can only go to the pub. A pub where we stick out like sore thumbs. I don't even drink. This means we don't do undercover cop well up here. But we do stand out from the crowd cop well. So why the fuck are we here?
Will. I sit in the Blue Door Café in Thurso. I sit across from what is one of the most stunningly attractive women I've ever seen on own. She's not like a traditional beauty. She's more than that. Her hair is shoulder length and of a lustrous strawberry blonde. It's not been washed since the waves yesterday, but it still holds such vitality, such warmth and brightness. Her eyes are of an utter emerald green. You hear that bandied around, don't you? Emerald green, but they truly are, and they hold pinpoints of light that show her true intelligence, brightness. Her teeth, well, they're not perfect, which is what makes them perfect. She's got a little tiny scar on her nose and on her upper lip, and freckles cover her face and skin. She's what would his... She's an ethereal beauty. She could be a nymph in the woodland, a sylph, but then she speaks. She's not looking at me. Her focus is on the menu. Since her holiday, imprisonment, I don't know, time away, she's been mainly eating, and God, can she eat. She loves this little cafe because, well, she loves the menu. Burgers, chips, and burgers and chips, and, of course, the mighty ice cream sundae. She's mauled her full, significant information for the type of the breakfast, Scottish breakfast, and while she finishes the last of her hash browns, she looks at the next course, an ice cream sundae. I, on the other hand, am okay with a coffee. Well, they call it a coffee here, but I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to what should be the slightly bitter nectar I love. This lower order coffee is brown grit that's been boiled in cat urine. I've never had cat urine as a drink, but I surmise this stuff would really be kind of similar. The wolf souls, Fenrir and Azra, are outside doing whatever it is that wolf souls do. They're chatting away, and I can hear it in the background of my mind. I do try and give them the privacy, but it's hard because their words materialise in my thoughts. Sally is humming, which is annoying, as she looks with study at the menu and pushes away her empty plate with an audible over-appreciation of the food. Without thought, she wipes her mouth with the sleeve of her oversized hoodie. No, let me change that statement. My hoodie that she has taken hostage since we started this journey together. I flinch slightly at this. There's just a pile of serviettes just there. She could have just reached out and... She doesn't stop her studying of the menu that she now must know by verbatim from our frequency of attendance here. I sigh with a bit of disgust.
What?
She asks, at my annoyance, now picking her teeth with her thumbnail. Again, I must, show slight revulsion on my face.
What?
Nothing, I lie, looking out the window at the wolf souls as they wander around the car park. Time passes. A mum and two toddlers run through the wolf souls to get back to the car. It would be funny to see how they would have reacted if they'd actually seen the wolf souls there. I start tapping my teaspoon on the edge of the cup distractedly. She looks up at me with questioning eyes, and I smile. She nods at the click and the clank of the spoon. I stop, a little embarrassed. She is one of the only two people in the world who can make me feel like this. Nah, that's not true. She's the only one now. She goes back to reading. I sigh.
What?
She again asks from her perusal of the menu. I hear the annoyance in her speech. You're going to have a banana sundae, I announce without even looking at her. She briefly looks up at me like just a little disgruntled at my announcement.
Maybe I won't,
she says, resuming her search. I shrug my shoulders and go back to watching the wolves outside as the light drizzle starts to fall. The waitress, a pretty young thing, catches my eye. She smiles at me as she walks past with handfuls of dirty dishes. I smile back and she turns her eyes away and giggles. I smell the musky scent of her excitement, the increased heart rate and the flush of blood to her skin. Life as a werewolf lets us sense so much more of the world. I turn to Sally, who is now looking directly at me and bemused at this interaction. She shakes her head and smiles. I shrug and have a little moment of guilt at being busted.
Alice!
The waitress stops and looks at Sally with a smile, but a different smile than the one she offered me.
Can I get a banana sundae? Por favor?
Sally asks.
Oh, sure, Sally. Coming right up.
Alice replied. Sally looked at her, locking eyes for a moment, and then she said,
How do you know my name's Sally?
It sounded a bit aggressive, I must admit. The kid looked genuinely shocked, and she knew she'd sort of overstepped a mark of familiarity.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
she said.
He called you that just now. I didn't mean to.
But she tailed off as Sally dismissed her with a wave of one hand, and Alice dashed away to wherever the dirty dishes belong.
She's like 16.
Sally says, maintaining eye contact with me. A smirk tells me she finds this interplay between the young girl and me kind of amusing. She's 19 3/4, working here for the summer to be able to pay for her addiction to the surf man, I tell her, turning my body towards her and resting my elbows on the table. I mirror her posture, and there is a moment when we just sort of stare at each other for a while. So, banana.
Shut up!
She laughs. I pick up the teaspoon again and draw it with it on the table. I run the dots of spilt coffee along the table's vinyl surface. So, I mean, this has all been fun and stuff. We've been, having a few weeks of travelling about and doing shit, but are you going to tell me what went on? I ask her. I literally feel the change in her more than I see it. The actual atmosphere of the room seems to cool by several degrees as the smile falls from those beautiful lips. She sits back from the table, tense, and seems to brace herself against it. She appears to need the support. I mean, sorry, but I don't mean to pry, but I found out I have 3 sons a few weeks ago. It's quite a shocking outcome for me, I continue.
Well, they're not really yours,
she tells me, looking away. I feel she doesn't really want to talk about this. Her body language shows extreme discomfort. I don't want to push, so I just leave an uncomfortable silence that I hope she'll fill. It takes a while, and then she turns to me with beautiful but tear-filled eyes.
I mean, you're their biological father, but you're not...
I can feel her grasp for words.
You're neither dads. You weren't there for them.
Fucking ouch.
Lucy. I sit at my desk at home. Today, my home is a reflection of my need for comfort. I am in a room from the 14th century, a room of Louis' decoration in Versailles. A large fireplace gives out the perfect idea of comfortable warmth. 2 seats sit in front of the fire. The greater demon for Gisela Trudeau sits in the seat by the fire, licking her paws. Yellow eyes close as she seems to comfort herself in this task. For Gisela Trudeau is in the form of a black cat. Just that. Not even a scary black cat. Just a little female cat. Some would describe her as cute. Probably not to her face, though. That would be a mistake for most. The mistake being that they would have had enough time to suffer the little cat's wrath as she immolated them with a fire-filled glance. I, as the boss of this place, am doing paperwork. I don't need to do paperwork. It just feels right doing some. This place runs itself, really. You see, the guilt-ridden that arrive here choose their own tortures and create their own demons. They need nothing of me, but it makes me feel better having something to do. Going through the motions or pretense of working actually allows me time to think. I tap my pen on my teeth. It is an orange Bic. You know, the cheap type. It is strange that in hell, pens can be in any form for 24 hours. After that, they become the cheap orange Bic. This pen was initially a huge feathery quill. Now, well, you get the idea. A red dial phone of the 1970s starts to ring on the end of my desk. This shocks me initially, because it was not there a moment ago. This can only be one thing. I sit and try to ignore it. I don't need him in my life at the moment. My life. Is this my life? Oh God, not an existential moment of crisis. Did I just say, oh God? The phone stops ringing, and after a moment, the handset lifts itself off the rack of the phone, and the earpiece forms a mouth.
Lucy?
Says the voice I recognise. I drop my pen and put my head in my hands. This is supposed to be my place. I run this place. This is the 10th level of hell. I should be able...
I say, Lucy, old thing, I know you're there.
Says the phone. I lift my head from my hands and try to smile as I acknowledge the disruption. Yes, Gabriel, I answer.
I was just sort of wondering if I could come and talk to you.
He asks. I get back to my paperwork. No, I tell him. The phone hangs in silence for a moment. It has a sad look on its...
Just for my proper understanding, is that a no, or is that an I have to convince you no?
The angel asks. It's a I do not want to interact with you in any way, no. It's a I wish to imagine that you don't exist, no. And a no that I know you are going to ignore until I say yes, no. That's the no that I propose that I am trying to give you. So, Gabriel, instead of no, let's go with it. I wish you would
Lucifer, I have to see you.
And then he was there in front of the desk. Gabriel is about as angelly as an angel can get. Big, buff, blonde, flowing locks. Otherworldly handsome and a completely arrogant
There's no need for the rudy words. I had to see you, Lucifer.
He now said. Notice how he disrupts the use of the swear words I wish to use even before I get a chance to use them. He is like an angelic beep button they use on TV programmes before 9 p.m. So why did you ask then? And not just turn up, you complete Again, he butted in.
Well, it was polite to ask, even though you were going to see me, whatever your answer, sorry.
I got back to my work. I was actually doing a Sudoku at this point. Although it looked to all that could see the work that it was just a page with a lot of big, long words in it. You know, words like antecedents and clavicular. Pull up a seat then. You know you're always welcome, I told him sarcastically. Or is it sardonically? Probably both in this case. He walked over the charming rug to get a chair. No, he did not walk. He was an angel after all. There was a choice of two, and he took the one without the snoring, what looked to him like a cat. He turned to take the empty chair when a sudden meow shocked him. He looked down at the seat he carried. The cat that had been in the other chair was now asleep in this one. He looked confused and smiled, turning to take the other chair. He lifted it and turned to walk towards the desk. The chair in hand was now again full of cat. This was so amusing to watch. For Giselle was enjoying taking the piss out of the archangel. Gabriel looked at me in inquiry at what to do. He was confused. I shrugged and took a sip from my helly water mug. He turned back to the little cat that was confusing him and forced a smile. He reached for the cat with a fingertip.
Cho, the little man. Could you give me the chair, please?
His tone was slightly begging. No, you can fuck right off. Oh, and if you touch me with that fucking finger, I will bite it off and stick it right up your... said for Giselle Anouar. I managed to butt into the cat's vociferous speech before the second profanity shook through the angel's body. For Giselle Anouar play nice. This man, angel, is our unwanted guest, so the sooner we can get rid of him, the better, I told the little demon. The angel and the demon were now staring at each other. Slitted yellow evil eyes into blue angelic orbs. A fight of a sort that was going on. An ancient battle that had been long going on since creation, but in the form of a staring match. Good against evil. Gabriel did well. He held the gaze unequivocally. I was impressed. Eventually, the heated moment passed, with the cat breaking eye contact first. Before it stretched, stood, and licked its bits briefly before looking back at the angel.
Bet you wish you could do that, eh? Gabriel,
said the cat before it yawned, stepping lightly onto the ground and disappeared in a flash of fire. What do you want, Gabriel? I asked him.
Well, I've actually come to apologise, Lucy,
said the blonde-haired angel.
Oh!
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.